I was out here in my backyard, and you know, I was measuring the depth of this depression. I had a string running across and a tape measure, and so all of a sudden I hear this neighbor over there yelling at me, and I got my phone recorded. I'm gonna play it here in a minute, but I want to tell you a couple of stories that I moved here in 2008, and then of course I didn't report my first burglary until 2010, and my first time somebody's in the attic happened in January 2011. You know, and of course at that time I wasn't suspecting somebody had tunneled under the home, and so I was you know, I was telling this neighbor, you know, that somebody's getting in my attic, and with pride he says, "That's what professional burglars do." You know, and I thought, professional burglar? I never even heard of somebody getting in the attic, and you know, and it was like, professional burglars, you know, are the ones that get in the attic, you know, and they're smarter than the rest of them, I guess is what he was saying, you know. And then another conversation, he tells me, he says, "The last 4 people who lived in your house didn't live there long." You know, I'm thinking, what? You know, the last one is dead, you know, and it's suspected he was murdered here. You know, I mean, the neighbor told me he died in this home twice, told me somebody else died here before him, you know, and then and that's confirmed by the Odessa American in their second revised death notice. You know, I feel sure Mike Lawhon, you know, died here a couple of weeks before I moved in, and then I'm ambushed and shot by somebody under my home, you know. But about a week before the murder attempt, you know, I've been reporting these crimes for 14 months. I climb up on my roof here. I'm going to show you here on my roof, okay? And I'm looking all around. I'm looking for a suspected tunnel entrance, you know. And I get over here on this section right here of my roof, and I'm up there, and I turn around and I look over there, and in that backyard right there, and what it was hidden by them boards that are strategically leaned up against that shed, that I see what looks like a storm shelter door, a suspected tunnel entrance, you know. And then, of course, after I'm, you know, survived the murder attempt, you know, crawled out and lived, God saved my life, you know, I get on Google Maps and I start looking it up, and I'm going to show you that here in a minute, that it looks like that tunnel entrance was put in somewhere around the time that Mike Lawhon died, you know, and then it was taken out around the same time this live tree was removed. See, there's a live tree missing right there where that telephone pole is. Used to be a tree. On the other side of that wall is 2 side-by-side manholes, and suspected one of them was also a tunnel entrance that was for the truckers and organized prostitution. You know, we're seeing these, this is the back of Home Depot over here, secluded truck unloading lane. I was seeing all these 18-wheelers coming and going 24/7 and not unloading freight. You know, it's all right, you know, you'd assume truckers are back there, but this is on the weekends, holidays, middle of the night. You know, they're showing up, staying a little bit, leaving, showing up, staying a little bit, leaving. At the same time, I got burglar alarms going on my attic here and people moving around. It was real clear that the people in the attic were meeting them truckers over there, but that seemed to stop once they took that live tree out. And at the same time, that suspected tunnel entrance in the backyard of that house was there. One last story here is in 2013 at the protective order here, and that the ex-wife filed, and you'll hear him talking about that, because, you know, I wonder if they hadn't got that ex-wife blackmailed or whatever. She lied, that's all there was to it. You know, I was only married to her for 3 months, and it was clear to me that she had a connection to these crimes. My backyard? You don't want me in my own backyard? What are you saying? My blood pressure medicine?
You need to take your medicine.
My blood pressure medicine?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, you're crazy medicine.
Is that, what is that, a slander?
You're crazy medicine.
Really?
You already reading your stuff, what you did to your ex-wife.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
You're a creeper.
Really?
You believe in Space Jam.
Oh, okay.
Space Jam is not real.
Uh-huh.
Creeper.
Hey, what do you know about these multiple, what do you know about these murders?
Creeper.
Huh? You know anything about these murders?
Yourself.
Huh? Do you know anything about the murder attempt on my life?
Tell the people you're lying.
Do you know anything?
You're lying. You shot your foot by yourself.
The,
Playing with fire,
the,
stupid.
the evidence shows that I didn't.
There's no evidence.
The-
The evidence is your foot. You shot
The
your
pellets
foot.
removed from my foot were 2.5 sizes different than what was in my gun.
Yeah, stupid. That's why you don't have a gun. They took
2.5 sizes different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you harassing me in my own yard?
No, I'm just telling you.
I'm the victim of a capital crime.
Don't be crazy.
You understand I'm the victim of a capital crime.
Yeah. Shut up.
I'm out here minding my own business. You come over here and started, you come over here and started mouthing off to me.
Shut up, stupid.
All right, here we are. And I compiled some evidence here, got it ready. And of course, this is not all. There is so much evidence here. It's to the point of absurdity is what's going on here. Arrest should have been made a long time ago. And but I just wanted to put some together to clear my name from the slander that we just heard that come from that next door neighbor. And you know, and you know, I believe the law enforcement should question him and you know, and see if you know, if he did have a tunnel entrance in his backyard. Maybe he knows something about the suspected murder of Mike Lawhon, the underground parties, the pedophile parties, the premeditated capital murder attempt on my life, falsified police report, and other things. But let me just get into this little evidence section here, and I think you'll find this real interesting. And once I said, it doesn't matter what I say, what he says, what the police says. What matters what the evidence shows happened. You know, and you know, and they were real sneaky because they ambushed and shot me from under my home. And oh, you didn't see the person. Well, of course I didn't see them. They were under my home and shot me. You know, but we know that's what happened. Okay. This picture here, it's basically what I'm showing is the entrance wound and the exit wound on my foot, and these were taken a few months after I shot. And so we know this alone tells us where the shooter's gun was at. It was about 2 inches above ground level, okay, and since the entrance and exit wounds level, we know the gun was level. So the person was under my home with the gun, waited for me to walk by, okay? And right here is where I fell to the ground. This is my utility room. This is this weird cabinet in there that when I bought the home, the door was gone, the shelf was gone, the kickboard was gone, not even this little wood was there. You know, I put that up after I was shot. And so it was real clear this was the hidden trap door that the ex-wife had already told me about. And I believe it's also the trap door that was used by Midland police officers Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale when they come into my home. You know, Dickey was in my home at 11:05 and he wasn't seen arriving on the camera. That seen Woodward and Naylor at 11:01. I believe they come in this same trap door. Maybe one of them police officers shot me. Okay. I also believe it's where Matt Hyman and his friends came in 2 weeks earlier, and it looks like Matt Hyman died in my hallway when I put electricity on my doorknob after I noticed that I was under a home invasion. I call that the first murder attempt. So anyway, what this evidence shows is we know where the shooter's gun was at. It was 2 inches above ground level. Keep in mind, 2 weeks before this, I'd called the DEA and reported a suspected tunnel, and they didn't look. Now, multiple people are documented saying that tunnels and underground homes are here, including a recent candidate for sheriff. Okay. And then I want to show this is super important, and like I said, it's the evidence that matters. Okay, this is a shell, one of my shells, and what it shows is that the size of pellets was 7.5. Okay, it's a size 7.5. This is the lab report from the pellets removed from my foot, and what it's showing here, it's a 0.3 cm, okay, centimeters. Okay, and then I have a chart up here at the top that I'm showing you shotgun shell sizes, and what it's showing is that the size of pellets removed from my foot were 2.5 sizes different than what was in my gun. That's what I want to make real clear. So that's ballistic evidence proving that I wasn't shot with my gun. It's like saying the guy with the 22 didn't shoot the guy that has a hole in him from the 45. I mean, that's, you know, people get sent to prison over that type of evidence. Ballistic evidence proves I wasn't shot with my gun. And then there's a whole bunch more story about how the police they actually stole my spare shotgun shells from what the secret police did when they're in my home. They've never been returned. They were actually stolen. They're not on the evidence logs. And then CSI Marty Barrett, he omits the size of pellets from the shells that were in my gun. and you know, and a whole bunch of other evidence. You know, there was no empty shotgun shell found, and checked into evidence. And of course, after I made a point of it, 2 years later, it was handwritten in on the evidence logs. It's just to the point of absurdity. That's what I'm saying. You know, once again, here's my foot. Okay, what I want to show you here, it looks like I was shot with a handgun, 45 handgun, loaded with a Glazer safety slug. That's a special plastic-tipped pellet-filled bullet that fits in a handgun. And the reason I believe this is it is because you're going to see here in a minute, the surgeon said he removed a lot of plastic from my foot, and that wouldn't be found if I was shot with the shotgun shell, okay? And so that would explain that. And the size of pellets are the same size that are removed from my foot. Plus, they make it for a 45 handgun, and Lisa Rogers said I was shot with a 45 handgun, and so it fits, and there wasn't enough physical room in the room for me to be shot. So this fits all the criteria to say I was shot with a special ammunition to make it look like I was shot with a shotgun when that's not what happened. And that just shows premeditation. They tried to make this look like an accident. This was premeditated capital attempted murder. Okay, more evidence, because evidence what matters. One day I was on Facebook and I was posting, hey, look, you know, burglar alarms are going on in the attic, same time a trucker's out back. You know, that's what this post is about. And Lisa C. Rogers here from Midland, she says, you're not disabled with a 45, you know? And I'm like, how did you know I was shot with a 45, you know? I mean, how come you didn't say a 38 or a 22, you know? She knew exactly what I was shot with. It was a 45 handgun. And guess what? Glazer makes a safety slug, makes a pellet-filled plastic bullet for a 45. So I believe I was shot with a 45 handgun based on what Lisa. And I'm wondering, how did Lisa know that? And my guess is maybe her son was here. And her son, you know, is friends with a lot of people from my hometown of Hobbs, New Mexico, and other suspects. You know, I think his name's Cobb. And I can't remember his name, but last name's Cobb. Another piece of evidence. Evidence what matters, right? Okay. And this is from the surgeon's report, okay? And he states here there was a large amount of plastic and lead pellet debris. Well, I looked at that and I'm going, well, where'd the plastic come from, you know? And of course, I have a picture of the Glazer safety slug up there, right? Well, and then I get these criminals that are trying to cover up this failed murder, you know, for-profit murder. And they're going, oh, I know. It was from the wadding in the shotgun shell. That's what it was, you know, because they're grasping at straws trying to cover up this capital crime, the underground facilities, the pedophile parties, and the other murders, right? And you know, and then I come back and I go, no, it wasn't. The ER doctor, my brother-in-law that I didn't know about, stated on the ER report he removed the plastic wad from the room in the emergency room. And so regardless of that, that was a one piece of plastic anyway, you know, but that just proves it wasn't, you know, this plastic did not come from a shotgun. And I wanted to show you that because I always have people that are trying to cover up these violent crimes from these criminals. This is premeditated murder. This picture here was taken in the room I'm shot. This is a tiny room, you know, it's my 8 foot by 9 foot, has my washer and dryer, and it's my utility room. Here's the cabinet right back here. I was shot from somebody under the cabinet. How do we know that? Because that's where I fell, you know, that's where it told me the shooter's gun was at, right? We know the direction of shot. I was walking to the back door and boom, I fell to the ground. So I know where the shooter's gun was out. There's no doubt about it. What I'm showing is with this stick, is the same length of my shotgun, is that there's no way there was enough physical room. And that's what I noticed when I got out of the hospital, the ER, that there wasn't enough physical room. And now, you know, and I admit I didn't see the shooter. They were below me, you know, under my home. I didn't expect that, you know. And with a 45 loaded with a Glazer safety slug, you know. I mean, these are killers. It's like Kennedy driving down the road and the back of his head blows off. I'm walking to my back door, burglar alarm's going in the attic, and boom, I fall to the ground. These are killers, you know. That's cold-blooded killers, what they are. But I'm showing there wasn't enough physical room from where I was shot for this 4-foot-long shotgun. I had a shotgun. They knew I had a shotgun. Why? Because burglar alarms were going off over and over and over. I had been reporting repeated burglaries to my home for 14 months before that day. The ER nurse documents me, and I'll show you here in a minute, where I was saying burglar alarms kept going off in my attic. Now homeowners all over Midland, Odessa, Texas, other states are documenting reporting people in the attic. I'm not even going to play all that video for you. Okay, And then we get the people that come back and go, oh, there was a tripwire on your gun. Because dirty cop Rosie Rodriguez, who turned out to be the lifelong friend of the ex-wife that's alleged to be involved in the murder attempt, right, testifies in court and falsified the police report and said that there was a tripwire attached to my gun, that I had rigged my gun with a tripwire. Well, there was no tripwire. I didn't rig my gun with a tripwire. That's a lie. She made that up to cover up this premeditated for-profit capital attempted murder. Well, how do you know that, buddy? Because there's no tripwire in evidence. And none of the other dozen police mention a tripwire, including the crime scene investigator that said he picked up my shotgun. She lied, point blank lied to cover up a capital attempted murder. She might even be a police officer right now. This is a very dangerous criminal that goes around pretending to, wearing a badge and carrying a gun. Dangerous criminal, okay? And I wondered if she's not friends with that neighbor. These are the secret police. This is all in the proof, okay? Well, I get home from the hospital, I find pictures of, a dozen police in my house, order the police report. I don't get no police report showing any police here, Well, are they police or are they criminals dressed like police, I mean, this was a capital attempted murder. We know I wasn't shot with my gun, right? The evidence proves that, right? And so I offered a reward, and a $2,000 reward. First time happened in the history of America. Couldn't get a news story in the whole nation. I mean, that's how big this cover-up. They're serious about rigging homes and murdering people in their homes around here. I mean, that's all there is to it, because that is exactly what's going on, and I think they're killing one homeowner after another. I think they killed the guy that lived here before me, okay? Anyway, in 2018, 6 years after the murder attempt, these officers were identified by the private investigator that collected the $2,000 reward money. Keep in mind, that was disability money that I had saved up, okay? And I'm not going to go into all this. It's just amazing. There was 11 of them, okay? Of course, Rosie Rodriguez, one of the main players there. First one that showed up, John Woodward, Martin County Sheriff. This is Midland County. Ain't nobody ever explained why a sheriff from a different county was at my home minutes after a capital murder attempt, right? But I suspect he was under my home when I shot. Mike Naylor, he was behind Woodward. He died in 2014, supposedly in the line of duty. Some people wondered if he wasn't murdered by some of the other secret police. These are who I call the secret police. And then Chad Simpson was seen inside my house. He wasn't identified until, till 2018, and he murdered his wife and killed himself 2 months after Naylor died. And once again, it's the question's been asked if he wasn't murdered by some of these other secret police. They're looking at life in prison, for their part in a premeditated for-profit capital murder. And if they were involved in the murder of Mike Lawhon, maybe the death penalty, okay? And then I find out in 2019 there was a police report. All along, they had illegally withheld it. It had been subpoenaed in 2013. And when I get it, I find out that 6 of the officers seen on camera and identified were omitted from the police report. That's a felony, but no laws apply here in Midland, Texas. I mean, it's the most criminal place you've ever could imagine, where the police act like organized crime. That's what I mean. And I'm sure we have good police officers that are totally embarrassed about what's going on here. I mean, they'd have to be, and I'm sure it goes up to their management. Their management saying, no, this is a for-profit murder. We need to call it this, or whatever, steal that evidence, or whatever. And so anyways, here's these officers. What's important about this police report that they wanted to hide it. Why did they want to hide it, buddy? Well, the reason is 5 police officers, Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and L, were time-stamped as being at or in my home, and they wasn't seen arriving on the security camera that saw Woodward and Naylor arrive at 11:01. And Dickey was in my house at 11:05. 4 minutes later, he wasn't seen arriving. That told me that they come in from the underground trap door, which was under that utility cabinet in my utility room, right? That's where they come in from my house. But it also makes sense, maybe one of them was the shooter, also known as the would-be killer, okay? And that would explain why Rosie Rodriguez and Chandler were seen planting my stolen cell phone on one of the pictures, right? And my cell phone had been stolen before I shot, and that was so I'd bleed out and die, I wouldn't have communications. That's what forced me to crawl out, okay? And then this was the second entry 3 days later, and I believe that during this time, that's when they poured concrete. The only person you see's name in yellow, Rosie Rodriguez. She's the main player here, no doubt about that. And I believe by this time it's when they had poured the concrete and covered up the trap door there, And very possibly it was Matt Davis did that. He had my keys, and you know, Matt Davis admitted to stealing the evidence on YouTube. I didn't even put that in here. Another proof that I wasn't shot with my gun, they faked my x-rays at the hospital. I got triple proof that they faked my x-rays. They took the x-rays of somebody else that had been shot with a shotgun. Remember, I hadn't been. And they put my name on them, you know. And this right here is just from the ER report, you know. And what it's showing is the ER doctor, my brother-in-law that I didn't know about, orders 3 x-rays, okay? Some secret lab tech named User Interface cancels the doctor's orders and orders 2 x-rays. It's right here, User in Interface, okay? And then they come back and order 2 x-rays. Well, why'd they do that, buddy? Well, you know, I think they were already working on them and they didn't have enough fake x-rays to go around. That's why they did it, you know? Well, who is User in Interface? Nobody knows, because they're hiding it from us, right? Because obviously they've done it many times before, right? And then they bring back the x-rays, which are time stamped 10 minutes before they were ever even ordered. And so it's real clear. That's only one proof. I have 3 proofs showing that my x-rays were faked. And why did they fake my x-rays? Because they were covering up a premeditated, for-profit, capital attempted murder. These are the nurse's notes. Remember, I'm just showing you the evidence, because it don't matter what the neighbor said. It don't matter what the police say. It don't matter what I say. What matters is what the evidence shows, and this is what the evidence shows here. And, you know, and once we look at some evidence, then you figure out the one person that's telling the truth is me, the crime victim, right? And then you can take my word to the bank. Okay, and here I'm showing there are sirens going off. The alarms kept going off. Them alarms were in my attic, okay? I had reported somebody in my attic a year before that. Now homeowners all over Midland, Odessa, Texas, and other states are reporting people in the attic. This is just some of the addresses. Many of these are police scanner calls. I played this before. There is absolutely no doubt. Nobody can deny that many other homeowners have reported people in the attic, and that's the people that know about it. I lived here 2 years before I figured it out, and then now I know that the previous owner was saying somebody was breaking this house before I got here, you know. This has been going on for a long time, and so I think this is just a few of the homes that's been rigged, and I think they're all rigged with underground access, and it might be where they have a tunnel coming from a neighbor's house over to their home, which is used for burglary, theft, murder. It's racketeering is what it is, okay? Let's look at the previous owner, Mike Lawhon, okay? He died about 2 weeks before I transferred into town, okay? And he was 27 years old, okay? And I want to show you here, this is a private message I got not too long ago, right? And this friend of mine talked to one of friends of Mike, okay, him, right? And he says, the guy that lived here in the house before you did, and he said Mike would always talk about how he felt like people were in his house, how he knew people were in his house. And so then I'm like, wow, this was going on before I even moved here. I mean, clearly they murdered Mike, you know, and you know, and then I think they took him to Fort Worth, and they did that so they won the also party was starting the next week, and then they could sell the home to the next sucker that was moving in from out of town. That would be me, okay? And so I Googled William Michael Don Lawhon. This confused me at first because there was 2 different death notices I found online. This is Odessa American. This is one death notice posted on October, it says Mike died on October 12, 2008, and it's posted on October 14th. And then they changed it and posted a second death notice 4 days later on the 18th to say that he died at his residence. Okay, so that wasn't an accident. Somebody had to physically go change that, you know, to say he went from Fort Worth to dying at his residence. And the neighbor, Marilyn DeLuigi, told me twice that Mike died in my house, okay? She also said somebody else died here before him, and another guy named Aaron Packelhofer, I've documented this one too, asked me if I knew the names of the 4 people that had been murdered, died in my house. So as far as I'm concerned, Mike was murdered here and taken to Fort Worth because his death certificate shows Fort Worth. And then you can see the Odessa American. Somebody at the Odessa American knows something about Mike dying at my home and them trying to cover it up because they had 2 conflicting death notices. And then here about 2 or 3 months ago, I notify Sheriff Kreiner and the Texas Rangers, and I show them this evidence because this is evidence, and the Odessa American deletes this one. Okay, so now if you Google it, you only find this one. But nobody's been arrested and nothing's changed, and all they did was when I pointed out evidence to law enforcement, one, they contacted them and told them to delete it, you know. It's what it looks like, you know. I say that's tampering with evidence in a capital murder. Now let's look at some more evidence. Underground home. Multiple people are documenting saying that there's underground homes here. One lady recorded her on the phone, said there's 4 3-bedroom homes, 25 foot deep, each costing $1 million a piece. She said they were having pedophile parties here. You go to the Google Maps, you look on their map screen in my backyard, and this is behind Home Depot. You can do it yourself. 3802 Fair Circle right there. Just look it up yourself. You'll see a large bunker in my backyard. You look from above ground, you can't see it. Okay, and y'all seen that in the video when I was out there. And you know, there's that depression out there. That's I was out there measuring it. Okay, and so it's real. That's where I've documented multiple people saying these underground homes are here, and so that's where I believe one of them is in that backyard. That neighbor that was talking to me was right here over this fence right there. Okay. Now I'm going to show you the water well. Okay, where are these other? If there's 4 homes and one in my backyard, that means there's 3 more, right? Don't we all agree to that? Okay, so here's another Google Earth map, and I want to show you. Here, I'm going to zoom in on my home. Okay, my home that had the mortar problem, 3802 Fair Circle, and in my backyard looks like one of the underground homes. The neighbor had a water well next to my fence right here. Okay, there's the missing tree right there. Okay, and so I want to show you around here, around the corner, because Rhonda Denman Rogers said that underground facility was a half block away. A half block away, right here, is this empty lot. And there's a water well in that lot. And next to it is this home here that was owned by a Concho safety guy, and it had a mortar problem. Mine had a mortar problem. And I believe that mortar was caused from digging under the home, caused the foundation to settle, and that broke the mortar joint. Okay, so this home, there might be one of the under $1 million 3-bedroom underground homes in that lot right there. And then over here next to this Fairmont Park Church of Christ, here on Fairgreen Court, right here, there's the address, 3800 Fairgreen. There's another water well, okay? And that home also had a mortar problem like my home did and like this home did, okay? And then so that still leaves one more underground home somewhere, okay? Here I want to show you, this is a street view of that home over there where I'm suspecting maybe one of the 4 underground homes is in this lot right here, okay? And there's the home there, had the mortar problem at 3800 Westmont Court, okay? And here is Rhonda Denman Rogers. I'm talking to her and I said, underground facility somewhere. And she says, I know it's a half block away. Notice she didn't say it's 3/4 of a block, it's 2.5 blocks. She knew exactly where it was, and a half block away is right there where that water well is. And remember, there's a water well in my backyard next to where the underground home's believed to be there, okay? This one here's just a close-up. I'm going to show you right here is where the water well and you can use Google Earth or Google Maps, and you can zoom in and you can see that right there, okay? And so there you can see how close where the suspected underground home is in my backyard. Here's where I was ambushed and shot in my home in 2012. Proof shows I wasn't shot with my gun, so we know somebody under my home tried to murder me, right? Okay, here is that suspected tunnel entrance. I'm going to show you. I got on my roof, like I told you a while ago, and looked, and I saw that just a week before I'm ambushed and shot in a premeditated murder attempt, okay? And I see this covering the ground. Now, this was like a storm shelter door right here, okay? And here's these boards that are leaned up there that block my view. You couldn't see it from my side of the fence. They're still there. They've been there since I moved here in 2008. Them boards have been leaned up there. Of course, now that's gone. Right when that live tree was removed is when that's gone. Here's my shed, and right there's where I recorded the digging noise coming from under the ground. My dog alerted me to that, and I caught that on video. I have a video called Caught Digging, and you can hear it real clear. Somebody under the ground digging right there. And just to give you an idea where it's at. More Google Maps here. This picture was taken, satellite flew over right after it was taken out because the grass hadn't even grown back. And at the same time, this live tree is removed right here. That's where the 2 side-by-side manholes are. Remember, there was a concrete truck parked and pouring concrete here about 2 weeks ago. I got a video on that. Okay. And this one I want to show you here. This is an important one. Okay, go to Google Earth historical pictures, and we're going to look and see when the suspected tunnel entrance was put in and when it was taken out. And so these are dated pictures, okay? I got 4 of them. This one here is in it's blurry there, but it's in 2008. Okay, I think it's March 2008, and it's not there. And that's all I'm showing is here's a time frame from March 2008 to here, December 2009, December 5th, 2009. And you can see it there in the backyard, okay? So that it was put in sometime between March 2008 and December 2009. What happened during this time? Mike Lawhon died, suspected to be murdered in this house, and I moved in as the next unsuspecting victim, okay? And so when was it taken out? Once again, we'll go to Google Earth, okay? And we're looking here, and I believe this, I'm trying to look, is, because this picture is blurry here. We'll see it. Yeah, it's 2014 is when this picture is taken. There it is right there, 10/2/14, it's there. Okay, so we know for a fact it's there and the tree's there. Okay, so we know it's there on that date. But then on this date, on 4/28/16, it's gone. Okay, so they took it out, and there has to be a reason, right? So it was put in around the time Mike Lawhon dies and I move in, and then it's taken out after I'm ambushed and shot, and I'm finding all this evidence, and I'm posting it on the internet, you know? That's what I'm saying that law enforcement should be talking to this neighbor about. And notice that live tree's gone next to the other suspected tunnel entrance, which was the two side-by-side manholes. This is from a police report I found in 2013 from Rosie Rodriguez. Now, remember, she's the main dirty cop, you know, no doubt about that, you know, for sure. But there's plenty of them. And what she's saying, I contacted and spoke with Buddy's neighbor. I informed them about the incident. I told them they suspect his teenage sons were digging tunnels from their home to his and stealing his belongings. And that's all. And that's lies. Basically, I'm at the hospital. She says, any idea who's doing it? I said, maybe the neighbors, you know. I said they were parking in front of my house before I'm shot. I never made any accusations. You know, I'm trying to give them leads. You know, maybe it is. You know, I had seen that suspected tunnel entrance, you know, a week earlier. And I was informed his older teenage son parked his vehicle on his property, but next to Buddy Webb's residence. In the morning, his car tires were slashed. I was told his son began to park on the other side from Buddy's home, and his tires were no longer splashed. They believed it was Buddy. Well, you know, the thing is, that would have been caught on my cameras if it was true. And it wasn't true. It was a lie made up. And so you want to ask yourself, why is this neighbor making up lies? I seriously doubt anybody's tires was slashed, you know, and if it wasn't mine, you know, well, sure wasn't me. I've never slashed a tire in my whole life, you know. I mean, you know, I didn't even know about that until 2 years later when we subpoenaed the police reports and I found this up. I think this was created lie to try to cover up this premeditated failed murder, for-profit failed murder, right? Okay, and I wanted to show you that. Okay, and then he also brought up the ex-wife. Oh, she's calling you crazy type deal. And you know, and keep in mind that 22 months after I'm ambushed and shot, the ex-wife, I get a subpoena. She takes me to court for a protective order here, and I hadn't seen her, talk to her in a year and a half, and she lived 100 miles away. That's absurdity in itself. I mean, it truly is absurdity to think that you're getting a protective order from somebody you hadn't seen or talked to in a year and a half and lives 100 miles away, you know. But what the whole thing was to smear my name and cover up this premeditated failed murder, for-profit failed murder, as far as I'm concerned, you know. And so here I want to show you, this is in the paper, in the Midland Reporter Telegram, and I never call her name out. You know, her name has never come out of my mouth, you know, and I blocked her face and everything. Of course, that's in the Midland Reporter Telegram. But I was ambushed and shot 91 days after that I was married. And I'm the one that told her I wanted a divorce on December 20th, 2011, when she called the cops to my house. They put me in the back of a police car with a bag of pot and threatened me, you know, to threaten to frame me, basically, without saying a word, and then told me they better not be called back here again. That's why when burglar alarms were going off my attic, I didn't call the police, you know. And so then there's just, she's a nurse, basically, you know, and I work for DCP, etc. Okay, well, here, we're only married 3 months, but during this time, she comes in one day, and she sticks her finger in my chest and says, here's what you're going to do. Keep in mind, these crimes are going on all this time. And here she says, you're going to pay me, you know, for an apartment, or I'm going to tell everybody that you're crazy, you know. And then I was like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm selling this house and this is over, okay? And I went and got a realtor, Janine Pruitt, my realtor, and I listed my home for sale. It was listed for sale up to 2 months before I was ambushed and shot without a bidder. And that tells you now all these people trying to get me to sell my home. And why? Because they're trying to cover up these murders. That's why. And, but now they want me to sell my home because I survived. But they didn't want me to, nobody was buying my home when it's for sale at market value 2 months before I was crippled for life. But here's a recording, of her. This is a transcript of a recording. And she replies, I made a mistake. And she goes on to say a guy named Greg told her to try to extort money from me. It was going to cost me $1,800 a month, And so we're going to listen to that real quick. I think I got it because that's a YouTube video.
You're the one that's going to make money off of it. See, I could never figure out why. Why would this all happen? And then all of a sudden, wow, who the hell is going to follow the cash? Follow the cash. Who's going to make money off this house being broken in? And how in the world can you know and say that somebody's coming across the attic and breaking in the house and turn around and go, here's what you're going to do. You're going to pay me $1,800 or $1,200 a month, or I'm going to lie about everything that I've seen and tell everybody you're crazy. You're the only one that was going to make money off the house. Does that tie you back into the people breaking in the house?
No.
Conspiracy?
Absolutely not.
Huh?
Absolutely not. In your mind, yes. Obviously it does. In your mind, obviously it does.
I'm standing from the outside.
No, it's absolutely not true.
I stand from
the truth of the matter is that's what Greg suggested.
That's what Greg suggested. That's what she said. Okay, Greg was her friend from Nebraska that had a jet airplane she talked to all the time. And I tell you what, that Arthur Welch, we hadn't even seen that yet. He was her former boyfriend, said that she was talking to Greg a lot around the time that I was ambushed and shot. He believes Greg was connected to the murder attempt. Okay, here just. Less than a month, we separated less than a month before I'm ambushed and shot, my phone line's cut. She takes my life insurance books, okay, from my home. This is a picture of it. And then she brings them back a couple of weeks later, and then I'm shot a week after that, okay. This was in them books. It showed I had a basic accidental death and a supplemental accidental death policy that added 2 times the annual base pay, about $200,000, plus $250,000 on top of the other, okay? So that was an extra $500,000 if her friend, her lifelong friend from grade school, Rosie Rodriguez, would rule my murder an accident. And it was premeditated, planned murder. They had a special bullet that they bought to murder me with. And, had all the bases covered. Who's going to think that anybody under my home shot me? Nobody. And during the courtroom testimony of the protective order hearing, what we notice is before court that the ex-wife is sitting with Rosie Rodriguez, and they're visiting like they're longtime friends. Well, that was a surprise. And then my attorney asked Rosie Rodriguez in court if she knew her before all this happened. And that's when she says, yeah, we went to elementary and junior high together. And it come out in other testimony, they were in communications around this time, that I was ambushed and shot. Once again, I'm going to show you that, okay? So there's a $500,000 extra motives. There was the big prize was this home with this underground facility in the backyard, and $1 million underground facility paid for that she was going to happen to get. Instead of getting nothing from a divorce that was ending under allegations that she was working with a prostitution ring, okay? Okay, and this was interesting in court testimony. They asked her, did you date a man named Arthur Welch? Yes, shortly. And so, is he psychotic too? Because, she's going around calling everybody crazy, right? I guess if they don't pay the extortion money, then they're crazy, right? About 8 months after the murder attempt, Arthur Welch contacts me on Facebook, and he asked me if I thought she had anything to do with the shooting. And I told him I thought she was in Lubbock at the time, but I think she knows who did. And he told me, he says, I think she has a lot to do with it from things she told me. And she threatened to have me killed too. And then just a couple months ago, this was posted on Arthur Welch's Facebook timeline. You can probably go look him up and see it on his timeline. And Arthur wrote this just a couple of months ago, so his story hasn't changed since 2012. Cops were recorded hiding evidence and laughing about this man being shot. I was dating this guy's ex-wife when I overheard her talking, and from the things I heard, she had tried to have him killed for insurance money. And to hear how many police were involved, one, her longtime personal friend, who was Rosa Rodriguez. I won't let Buddy Wayne Webb be laughed at. Her final words to me was, "I will have you shot too." Okay, I mean, that's where I'm telling you, there's so much evidence here, it's to the point of absurdity. They're rigging homes with hidden access. We have some corrupt police, and they're murdering one homeowner after the other. And that's not what Buddy says, and not what the neighbors says, not what the cops say. It's what the evidence says is happening. We need to find real law enforcement and stop this lawlessness.